Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video like up. A soft golden light poured over the town of Hope Valley as morning broke. Through the mist that hung gently over the river, the world seemed at peace, but the heart of the valley was brimming with anticipation. The year 2025 had brought many changes to the people who called this small town home. It was as though the winds themselves carried whispers of new beginnings, second chances, and long-awaited reunions. Elizabeth Thornton stood outside her schoolhouse, her eyes following the laughter of her students as they ran through the yard. Their joy reminded her of why she stayed through every storm. Hope Valley was more than a place. It was her purpose, her home, and her constant reminder that faith and love could outlast any trial. Yet beneath her gentle smile was a question she hadn't yet dared to answer. Nathan Grant had returned from Union City only 2 weeks ago. The journey had been more than physical. It had been one of the heart. His time away had given him clarity, but also unease. He had seen how the world beyond Hope Valley was changing faster, louder, more uncertain. But every time he thought of Elizabeth, of her quiet courage and her unwavering compassion, he knew where he belonged as he rode into town that morning. His horse's hooves echoed softly on the cobblestone streets. The air smelled faintly of pine and promise. When he dismounted near the school, he caught sight of Elizabeth greeting her students, the sunlight catching her hair in a warm amber glow. Their eyes met for a brief moment, a familiar, wordless connection that carried years of unspoken emotions. For a second, it felt like time had folded in on itself. Every smile, every misunderstanding, every goodbye came rushing back. But something new stirred to a quiet hope that perhaps this time the moment might last inside Abigail's cafe. The hum of early chatter filled the air. Abigail had returned to Hope Valley not long ago after years of silence. Her presence felt like a missing melody finding its way back into the town's song. She moved gracefully behind the counter, pouring coffee for old friends and listening to their stories. The townsfolk still found comfort in her presence, as though, no matter how much had changed, she was still their anchor. Rosemary burst through the door, excitement in every step. "Abigail, have you heard?" she said breathlessly. The town council just received word that the railway expansion might pass near Hope Valley again. Lee says it could bring trade and opportunity, but I worry it could change the town too much. Abigail smiled softly. "Change is like the river, Rosemary. You can't stop it from flowing, but you can decide how to steer your boat." Rosemary sighed dramatically, placing a hand over her heart. "You always know just what to say. Still, I'll be keeping an eye on those railway men. They'll have to charm more than just the council if they want to win this town over." Outside, Faith Carter tended to her small clinic. Over the past few months, her responsibilities had grown, and she found herself torn between her devotion to Hope Valley and a new opportunity that had come knocking, an offer to lead a medical center in Hamilton. It was a dream she had never allowed herself to imagine, but one she could no longer ignore as she cleaned her instruments and arranged the morning supplies. Her thoughts drifted to Nathan, to how his quiet strength had helped her through difficult times, and to how Elizabeth had always found her way back to him no matter what life threw their way. Faith admired that. She understood that kind of love, the kind that didn't fade with distance or time. It only grew stronger in silence. Later that afternoon, a newcomer arrived in town. His name was Daniel Hayworth, a journalist from the city, carrying a notebook and a curiosity that made everyone slightly uneasy. He said he was writing a piece about small towns rebuilding after hard times. But there was something in his eyes, a mixture of admiration and secrets. He seemed to notice everything. The way Elizabeth smiled at her students, the way Nathan's hand lingered on his hat before speaking, the way Rosemary's laughter filled the air, but her eyes watched everything too carefully. That evening, Elizabeth sat by her window, writing in her journal. She wrote about her students, about the town, and about the way change seemed to hang in the air like a storm waiting to break. Her thoughts drifted to Nathan, to the steadiness he carried with him, and to the fear that once again timing might not be on their side. She closed her book and gazed out at the fading sunset. Across the street, she saw Nathan walking toward the stables. Without thinking, she stepped outside, her shawl pulled tightly around her shoulders. "Nathan," she called softly. He turned, surprised, but his face softened when he saw her. "Evening, Elizabeth," he said. "The children missed you at school today. They were hoping you'd stop by." He smiled. "I had to help Mike with a shipment up north, but I'll visit tomorrow." I never can say no to those little faces. There was silence for a moment, the kind that holds more truth than words ever could. Elizabeth took a breath. "I heard you might be leaving again. Is that true?" Nathan hesitated, his expression thoughtful. "There's talk of a new assignment in Cape Fullerton, but I haven't decided yet." She nodded, her heart tightening. "Hope Valley has a way of calling people back, Nathan. It always does." Their eyes met again, and this time neither looked away. The air between them carried all the weight of the years they had danced around what was unspoken. For the first time, Elizabeth didn't step back. Later, as the town settled into the quiet of night, Rosemary and Lee sat on their porch watching the stars. "Do you think they'll finally find their way to each other?" Lee asked with a soft smile. Rosemary chuckled. "If Hope Valley has taught me anything, it's that love takes its sweet time. But it always finds a way." Meanwhile, Faith sat alone in her clinic, a letter from Hamilton in her hands. She read the offer again and again, each word weighing heavier than the last. Leaving Hope Valley meant leaving behind everything she had built, her friends, her memories, her sense of purpose. But perhaps it also meant trusting that life's journey had more chapters to be written. In the days that followed, the town buzzed with new energy. Construction crews arrived to survey land for the railway expansion. Daniel, the journalist, followed them closely, asking questions, sketching maps, writing notes. But when he spoke privately with Abigail one afternoon, his questions turned personal. "I've read about Hope Valley's history," he said, "about the fire, the floods, the loss. How do people keep their faith through all that?" Abigail paused. "Because faith isn't about never falling, Daniel. It's about knowing that even when you do, there will be hands waiting to lift you up." Her words struck him deeply. For the first time in years, Daniel found himself wondering not about stories for others, but about his own. One evening, the town gathered at the church for a small concert organized by Rosemary. The children sang, the townsfolk clapped, and for a few moments all felt right with the world. Elizabeth stood beside Nathan, their shoulders brushing as laughter filled the air. Faith smiled from the back row, her heart full and heavy all at once. When the last note of the final song faded, Elizabeth turned to Nathan. "Do you ever think about what could have been?" she asked quietly. He looked at her, his eyes steady. "Every day," he said. "But lately I've started thinking about what still could be." The words hung between them like a promise. That night, Hope Valley slept under a blanket of stars. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying with it stories yet to be written. The next morning, as the sun rose, Faith placed her resignation letter on her desk. She smiled sadly, then walked outside to find Elizabeth and tell her the news. But before she could, Nathan approached. "You're leaving," he said softly. She nodded. "It's time. Hope Valley has been my home, but maybe helping others beyond these hills is what I'm meant to do next." Nathan extended his hand. "Then I'll be praying for you, Faith." She smiled warmly. "And I'll be praying for you and Elizabeth that you both finally stop waiting for perfect timing." With that, Faith mounted her horse and rode off, her silhouette fading into the morning light. As the days turned to weeks, life in Hope Valley continued to unfold like the pages of a cherished book. The railway plan brought both excitement and worry. Abigail and Lee worked tirelessly to ensure that progress didn't erase the town's soul. Rosemary found herself writing an editorial for the Hope Valley Herald, her words fierce, poetic, and full of heart. Elizabeth and Nathan grew closer, but their journey was still not without obstacles. Daniel's presence stirred emotions Elizabeth hadn't expected: admiration, curiosity, and perhaps a quiet test of where her heart truly belonged. Nathan, too, found himself wrestling with patience and pride. But every time he saw her smile, every time he watched her teach with such light in her eyes, he knew there was no other place he'd rather be. The season turned once more. Snow touched the rooftops, candles glowed in windows, and Hope Valley prepared for its Christmas festival. Abigail decorated the cafe with ribbons and pine garlands. Rosemary directed the children's play, and Elizabeth rehearsed lines with her students. Laughter filling the chilly air. On the night of the festival, the entire town gathered in the square. The lights shimmered like stars as music filled the air. Nathan stood quietly near the tree, watching Elizabeth.